So I want to let you guys know a couple different ways that you can stay connected to all the things that we do here at Summit Youth, because it's important to keep you in the loop of all the different events, all the different activities we have going on, especially since we have multiple different campuses. So the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to text Summit Youth to the number 94,000 and pick your specific campus. Each campus has their own communication schedule, but this is the best way for either parents or students to stay connected to immediate updates about what we're doing. So if we have an event happening that night, if there's a snow day or cancellation for some reason, that's the place where it's going to go out first. So again, that's Summit Youth to the number 94,000 and pick your specific campus. Now, another way you can stay connected is with our Instagram, which is yth.summit. It's yth.summit. That's where we're going to post all these updates for camps, all the upcoming events. That will be there as well. That's a little bit of a longer form communication, right? We do a lot more stuff there. The first one, the texting service, is really just about immediate important things that you need to be in the loop of, whereas Instagram kind of shares that secondarily. But those are the two best ways for you to stay connected. Now that we've established that, I want to talk to you a little bit about small groups. Small groups are the lifeblood of what we do at a church. If you look at what Jesus did with his 12 disciples, is he went around 3 years with them doing public ministry, pouring into those 12 people, which then in turn were instrumental in launching the early church in the book of Acts and the rest of the New Testament. In the same way, we as a church look at our youth ministry and want to be built around small groups. We're not here just to build massive numbers of crowds or people, but we really want to disciple and be discipled in small groups. So depending on your campus, how that's structured, you are more than likely going to have some type of small group element each week where you come in, you're poured into, you're able to connect with your friends. If you have friends that you want to bring to youth for the first time, the small group is designed to make them feel comfortable and hosted. But we really want your participation in that wholesale with all of your energy and really help lead the small group. Right now, there's going to be an adult small group leader to lead that. I don't mean you're actually going to be leading and directing things, but your energy, your participation, your focus, your willingness to bring friends and bring energy and make it fun are what's going to make the small groups memorable. You know, if I were to ask you right now, young person, tell me about the top 5 most impactful sermons you've had on your life, you would maybe be able to get 1, maybe 2. But really the sermons that I preach or Mel preaches or anybody preaches is not what's going to change you the most. It's going to be the people that you hang out with. If I tell you to name me your top 5 closest friends, I'm sure it's going to take you 15 seconds to be able to do that. That's how instrumental relationships are to shaping us, molding our character, and calling us forward. So I want to share a couple Bible verses with you about why this is so important for us as a value here. First and foremost, it sharpens us. We see in Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. If you think about the way that weapons used to be made before a time of guns and bullets and missiles and all that stuff, is you would have iron that was heated up, melted, and forged into a sword over time. And the way that you would sharpen that is using other metal or perhaps a stone to make the sword useful. And what's going to happen is as you go throughout your life as a young person, you go from middle school, high schooler to young adult to grandparent. The entire course of your life is a sharpening process. And what we don't want is we don't want you as a young person to get to your 70s, 80s, 90s, 100s and be like, I don't know if I ever let myself be refined or developed, or if I ever put myself around people that could refine and develop me in the same way that I would refine and develop them. And you look at your life and you're like, this could have been a sword, but really it's just kind of a rod of iron still. But what happens is when you live in relationship with other Christians who are pushing you, developing you, and you are also pushing and developing them, is that friction of relationship sharpens you and makes you useful in a really profound, significant way. So we want you to be in small groups, not just as a teenager, but in the rest of your future, because it sharpens you into being something more than you are now. The second reason is for this: it strengthens us. Galatians 6:2 says, bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. Life can throw a lot of things at you. Life, for some of you, has already been pretty messy and complicated. But some of you maybe haven't experienced that yet. But I want to promise you, as someone who's been through this, life at some point is going to put pressure on you. Life at some point is going to cause difficulties and burdens. And what you want in that moment is to not be alone. You don't want to have it just be yourself trying to carry your own burdens, but instead having someone else carry that with you makes you stronger. In the same way that when you carry their burdens, it makes them stronger. You know, if you look at horses and you look at the math behind it, a single horse can pull about 8,000 pounds just by themselves. And if I were to ask you the question, how many can 2 horses pull? You would probably use some basic math and say, okay, if one can do 8,000, a second one can do 8,000, they can do 16,000 together. You would actually be wrong on that. The math on it is actually they do 22 to 24,000. And if they've trained together and worked together over time, you can get that up to 32,000 pounds of towing force. Why is that? It's because when they're doing something together, you're able to do more for longer and have it drain you less. And life is the same way. If you try to go and do life on your own, at some point it's going to tax you, it's going to break you down, it's going to cause you to doubt and to struggle. And if you're willing to now develop the habits of being vulnerable with other Christians, of sharing your life, your high points and your low points, it's going to carry through your life and strengthen you in a way that is unbelievably good for you. So that's the second reason why we believe in small groups here. And then the third reason is this: it stirs us up. In Hebrews 10:24-25, it says, "And let us consider how to stir one another up to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near." Now, what happens is when you live in a small group, it's kind of like being on a football team, right? It's kind of being on a sports team. When one of your teammates starts to get fired up and starts to take the game more seriously, it rubs off on you. And when you get fired up and take the game more seriously, it rubs off on them. And what happens is as you figure out what it means to follow Jesus and build your life around him, there's going to be moments that God speaks to you that you will then share with your small group. And someone else in your small group will go, wait, I feel like I want to do that too. I feel like God might be speaking to me there too. One of your friends might say, hey, I want to get baptized. And another one of your friends says, wait, I want to get baptized too. It could be about missions trips. It could be about joining a dream team. But when you live in that relationship with one another where you are sharing what God is speaking to you, it stirs you up to do things you might never have done before. I was a really shy, awkward, backward kid with a stutter who couldn't deliver anything confidently from stage. But God allowed there to be some people in my life who they started to take a step out of faith and say, hey, you know what? I feel like I'm supposed to try to start preaching and refining what I'm saying and how I'm saying it. And I, in my little backward, shy self, was like, I want to try to do that too. And now God has positioned it in my life where I'm a preacher. Right now, I'm not going to say I'm a lights out guy that is going to sell out, like concert venues or anything like that. That's not the point of this. But what I'm saying is there was something in my life I never would have even thought was possible had it not been someone else sharing what they felt God was telling them to do that then spoke to me and said, wait, I want to do this too. I feel like God might be speaking to me here too. So whatever that might be, I think God's going to speak it to you in small groups. Now, the good news is, like I said before, if you're wondering how do I get involved in a small group, as a student, it's pretty easy. You're going to be in small groups probably every week, if not every other week at whatever campus you're at. You're going to get a chance to share those things and develop those things. What I want to ask of you is this, is that you would take it seriously. Not like necessarily somberly where you have to feel like you can never have fun. Small groups are actually one of the most fun things that we do, in my opinion. So please make it fun. But I would say recognize that this is a habit that you're going to be building for the rest of your life, and you're going to be absolutely blown away with what God's going to do in your life through small groups.